What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel and check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want I want to react to a recent episode of the Pat McAfee uh, that I watched, right? And so they were asking Coach K, Pat McAfee was asking Coach K about who was the greatest basketball player, in his opinion. Now, as like fans, most fans are going to say Michael Jordan, right? And so I think when you excuse me, when you have fans who say Michael Jordan, that's one thing, right? But then when you have somebody like Mike Krzyzewski, like one of the greatest college basketball coaches of all time, and he say Michael Jordan right off the bat, um, it's like when somebody said, people say like, well, consider the source, right? And so when you consider the source, it's one thing coming from a fan or fan base, because a lot of times people think that fans are not as knowledgeable about the game as somebody like a Mike Krzyzewski or somebody, or even people who play the game. When they say, well, fans, fans, they just not as knowledgeable, and depending on what fan base they come from, they kind of can be what I would consider like unfair, like no matter what this player do or says, you're going to go with that player. But this right here, when you hear Mike Krzyzewski say that like it's Michael Jordan, like right off the top, and you know Mike Krzyzewski, when he say stuff, this carry a lot of weight because Mike Krzyzewski really don't get involved in these kind of conversations too often. But when you ask him a question, he also seems to me to be the kind of person that's not going excuse me, that's not really he not going to lie about it. And he going to let you know what he thinks, right? And so I want to play the audio from the Pat McAfee show and let you listen to what Mike Krzyzewski thinks of Michael Jordan and how Pat McAfee had to almost twist Mike Krzyzewski arm in order for him to say LeBron James was in the same conversation with Mike and Kobe. So listen to how this conversation go, because to me it gets a little bit awkward.
while they're doing it, but which is great for the sport. But the best player uh, that I've ever been associated with is Jordan. And then uh, you can. There are a number of other people that he can allow into his room. Okay, and a limited number of them. But it starts with I think with Michael. I will tell you one thing about international players now. That's been the biggest change.
Why is that? Why is that Michael Jordan number one, you think? Is it because of his competitive?
He's a killer. He's a killer, for Christ's sake. And he could do anything. He got bored and went to play baseball for a while, and then still came back. No, he he and his attitude and work ethic. I love him, and I love. He's the ultimate competitor. Kobe was close in that. He's in that room. There's obviously Magic and Jabbar, and there are a number of them. But
LeBron, Coach K.
All right, so before they get to the LeBron James part, right? I wanna focus on something that Coach K said about Michael Jordan. And Coach K said that he loved Michael Jordan, right? Now, as a coach, your whole career and your very job is to get a player to play, like give you everything they got, a player to reach their highest potential, right? That right there is for a coach, like that's their dream, because your whole success and everything that you work for depends on whether you can get these guys or these players to perform. And that's not easy to get a player to have that type of dedication and focus as somebody like a Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. And so when Coach K says that he loves Michael Jordan, that's the statement kind of goes, people say, oh yeah, he loved Michael Jordan, yeah, whatever. But if you could see his face when he said that, there's like I think he legitimately loves that about Michael Jordan, like what Michael Jordan brings to the table as a player, because coaches can relate to players who, just imagine like Dean Smith coached Michael Jordan in college. And Mike learned a lot from Dean Smith. But also, when you have a player that is hungry as Mike, that is dedicated as Mike, man, you don't get, even if these guys are talented, you had a lot of great athletes come through the North Carolina program. You had James Worthy, Sam Perkins, Kenny Smith. A lot of great a lot of great athletes came through that North Carolina program, right? And all these great programs, you have a lot of great athletes, but to have somebody in your program that is that focused, that dedicated, and that driven, man, and then on top of it, with the type of physical abilities that he had, like that's the dream player for any coach, So when Coach K said that he loved Michael Jordan, because Mike is a killer, right? Man, what coach there's no coach at any level that just would not want to coach a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant, like those guys who just gonna go all out. And I think Mike Krzyzewski, he purposely didn't put LeBron on that list with those guys, man. He mentioned Mike, Kobe, Magic. Who else he mentioned? Kareem. And if you think about the names that Mike Krzyzewski mentioned, like those guys, there's a difference between those guys and LeBron James. And I'm gonna leave it at that. But like I said, consider the source, man. It's all about who's telling you, not just the fans, but now you have Mike Krzyzewski coming out and saying, man, it's Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is, and so let me see play the rest of this exchange between Pat McAfee and Mike Krzyzewski.
No, I'm not going to say one more. But let me tell you this thing about
LeBron is not in the room?
No, LeBron is in there.
Okay. Jeez.
He's not selling tickets outside.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to know from my
his career. LeBron and I are close, man. He helped us win. I love coaching LeBron. Yeah, I want to say this thing about college.
Now, am I saying anything that's out of the ordinary? That when you hear Michael Jordan.
All right, so let's say this, right? If you have to ask somebody to include, you had to ask Mike Krzyzewski to include Michael Jordan. I just think that's in my opinion, that's a tell, right? Because right off the top, if LeBron James was what Pat McAfee wanted him to be, then he would be, it would be Mike Krzyzewski would have mentioned him right off the bat. But like I said, when you take those players that Mike Krzyzewski did mention, he mentioned Mike, Kobe, Magic, Kareem, their game and their attitude and their approach towards the game of basketball is just different from LeBron James. And I don't know if it's because LeBron James played in a different era from all of those guys. Mike overlapped with Magic and Bird, and also, a little bit with Kobe. And all of those guys, all those guys had certain attributes to their game. And they had a certain way about them that LeBron James didn't have, as far as like the passion and the focus and the commitment to the game, like those guys had, right? But Yeah, you know, Pat McAfee had to damn near twist Mike Krzyzewski's arm in order to get him to include LeBron James in there. And so, if you got to do that, I just think Mike was, you know, he was, because he have a relationship with LeBron James, Mike Krzyzewski. I think he was just trying to be politically correct, you know. But he did, you know, he did make it a point not to include LeBron until he was prompted to say LeBron James. But you know, you don't have to prompt nobody to say Michael Jordan. You don't have to prompt anybody to bring Kobe and Magic up and Kareem. And a lot of times, and most times, you want to bring Bird in there too, right? You don't have to prompt people to bring those guys in there. You know, especially guys who, you know, coaches and ex-players and fans, people who know the game, you know, and had an opportunity to watch the game over several decades, know what they're looking at. And so they're not going to put LeBron James in that same category with Michael Jordan. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, I'm going to check you all out in the next video. Peace.